Welcome to the 133rd commencement exercises of Wagner College. Thank you, Dean Tooker, for leading us as the faculty marshal. Thank you, Dr. Kalber, for the role you're going to play today in our commencement exercises. Today you were led in by 5 Golden Seahawks, Dr. Warren Prochi, John Bursler, Professor Harold Kozak, Marilyn Nicol Genovese, Dorothy Nelson Gilly, class of 1968, who they took the same steps on this very same oval 50 years ago. Congratulations. After 4 challenging years, and for some of you as graduate students and second-degree students, shorter periods of time, on behalf of the entire college community, we extend our congratulations and our admiration for all of your achievements, your leadership, and your service on the campus and to New York City and to the nation. I welcome all of your parents, families, and friends, distinguished guests, and members of our community. We have with us some very special supporters. Some have endowed scholarships and made gifts in support of your work at the college, and others have given tirelessly to the efforts to extend the opportunities available to our students and to our faculty. And I'd like to recognize them today as we begin the ceremony. So from our Board of Trustees, our Chairman, Dr. Warren Prochi, class of 1968, Mary Caracappa, class of 1982, and parent of Anthony Hurtado from the class of 17. Andrew Catizzi, 1972. Dr. Aletta Diamond, class of 1965, honorary of 2015. Alex Fox, son of former board member Donald Fox. Ralph Green, Jr., parent of Ralph Green III, who received his undergraduate degree in 15 and his MBA in 17. Dr. Tom Kendris, Mark Lebovitz, class of 91. Richard Morgan, parent of Richard Morgan from class of 2012. Joan Nicholas, daughter of Mike and Margaret Nicholas from the class of 1949. Lorraine McNeil Popper from the class of 78. Dr. Maureen Robinson, class of 67 and honorary doctorate in 2003. And Kim Spiro, daughter of Donald and Evelyn Spiro from the class of 1949, for whom we have 2 major buildings and the School of Nursing named. Thank them all for their service and commitment. Congratulations on your special day. This is a wonderful moment of recognition for your academic, athletic, civic, and campus achievements. You have demonstrated your commitment to learning by doing, your openness to new ideas and diverse cultures, and your intellectual and leadership competencies. You are graduating from a fine college. You are prepared for the next steps in building your personal as well as your professional lives. So much is right for you on this day as you celebrate your graduation with your friends and your family. You are cherished by our faculty and by our staff and administration, and I personally treasure what you have accomplished at Wagner, and I hope you will always count Wagner and this beautiful campus as one of your homes throughout your lives. Every generation has its special advantages and its unique challenges. You are living during a time of remarkable technological change where virtually everything ever written, recorded, or performed sits on a smartphone in your pocket. The knowledge of all the previous generations is easily and readily available to you in seconds. It is also a time of unprecedented medical breakthroughs in the neuroscience of the brain, in the possibilities of extended quality of life through new medical innovations, in immunology, in genetics, in organ transplants, in early disease detection in numerous forms of respiratory cancers, diabetes, HIV, AIDS, cardiology, tuberculosis, among many other medical discoveries that promise to extend the quality and length of life. And you're also alive during an age of unprecedented access to new knowledge, as well as a remarkable expansion in communication technology, where the people of the world have direct access to each other in ways we could only have imagined a few decades ago. And I could go on and continue to this list of many other exciting advances in everyday life that make your generation one so clearly marked by dramatic emerging opportunities. But there are very dark clouds that are looming over all of this human progress. You are graduating in a historical moment marked by the specter of deep social divisions that threaten the very foundations of these human advances. We are seeing a sustained attack on science and scientific thinking, which are some of the keys to all of these modern advancements. We are seeing assertions and accusations equated and substituted for sound evidence-based arguments. For too many, including elected public officials in many nations, ideology preempts facts. Unfounded conspiracy narratives are equated with well-documented studies, and magic thinking is substituted for well-thought-out and factually based arguments. In too many quarters, reason itself becomes the enemy of sought-after political and material advantage. And these clouds of anti-intellectualism are part of a larger cloudscape where intolerance and bigotry and human cruelty are on the rise. Often justified around self-serving ideologies, we are living at a time when the unspeakable brutality of terrorism, forced migration, and street violence threaten to become normalized. Unless we regain our individual and collective sense of empathy and respect for others, the hard-earned progress around human rights and the rule of law will slip from our control, and they will be replaced by an unrelenting use of physical force in resolving individual, political, and social conflicts. You're living through a period of increased racial injustice and anti-Semitism, as well as attempts to subordinate women and expunge social diversity, which is not, in the end, to be feared, but understood as among our greatest assets. It is a time marked by a dark cloud of political paranoia that promises to overwhelm nonpartisan, well-negotiated compromises that are hammered out in the spirit of our traditional American optimism for pragmatic problem solving in the face of adversity. Your generational challenge is to restore that social confidence and to craft the civic imagination which brings back us towards the founding values of this republic, which, while far from a reality at our national origins, remain, as Dr. Martin Luther King put so eloquently 55 years ago, not just his dream, but our national aspiration, where each of us is judged not by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. The sources of that, thank you. The sources of that hope appears in the pledge that every child, every day in America, in American schools, recites, namely an allegiance to a republic with justice and liberty for all. To accomplish this realization of an inclusive, fair, and caring democracy, it will take an exceptional generation of young, transformational leaders, just like those heroes beautifully portrayed in the Broadway musical celebrating Alexander Hamilton. We need a new generation that believes in the good community and is willing to enter into the public commons to alter the arc of history. And I personally believe, and I mean this so sincerely because I've known you so well, I personally believe you will become that generation. We've prepared you at Wagner College for this challenge. First, you've been engaged in an innovative model of liberal education, what we have called here since 1998, the Wagner Plan for the Practical Liberal Arts. It's not named liberal education for just any reason. It has nothing to do in and of itself with what we call liberal or conservative politics. Rather, it harkens back to the ancient Greek philosophy where the aim of being broadly and deeply educated about the world around you was to free you from merely being a prisoner of your own personal experience. Liberalis artes to the ancient Greeks, liberal arts to us, is an educational approach allowing students to see the world wide by acquiring the sharp skills of compelling written and spoken conversation and communication in critical and independent thinking. and in problem solving. It liberated you by exposing you to different cultures and historical periods, unique as well as different and sometimes competing value systems. In short, liberal education lets you see beyond yourself and your own experiences, to see the world wide and deep, to see the whole cosmos, if you will, to become cosmopolitan citizens of the world. At Wagner, we have joined this revered and classic form of learning with applied and professional learning in the areas of health practice, of nursing, physician assistant, in business administration, and in education. These applied disciplines teach us about learning by doing, where all those liberal art assets are joined to real-world context and theory and practice to produce what we refer to as the practical liberal arts. This approach to learning and doing is the Wagner Plan, where we join the text of your learning communities and your majors with clinical and field-based and civic experiences. Your Wagner biographies are just chock full of extraordinary civic accomplishments in the local neighborhoods such as Port Richmond, Park Hill, Stapleton, and St. George, as well as in Costa Rica and Haiti and Guatemala and Botswana and Ghana. All economically and politically marginalized neighborhoods and nations, you're mentoring and tutoring in their schools. You're preparing youngsters for college readiness. Your commitment to their nutrition and wellness in your work in food recovery and clinical assistance in hospitals and in villages and in many nonprofit organizations makes an enormous difference of the lives of many who are denied the basic resources of a good life. Your biographies are rich with examples of a full education where you have learned to marry the habits of your hearts with the power of your hands and your intellect. In short, you have what I've referred to as demonstrating the arts of democracy, namely the development of empathy for others, of building reciprocity with others, of forging cooperative teams in solving problems, of the skills of the new technologies and social media to become laser sharp in building coalitions across all those unique ethnic, racial, and personal identities that make up our diverse communities. And finally, you have learned to move into action in making sustainable change. I have so much faith in you personally and in your generation in advancing all those innovations in human progress that I enumerated earlier in this speech. You are the generation to engage all these challenges that threaten to degrade democratic culture and to defeat those that elicit the worst of all of our human instincts, namely our drive to substitute violence for reason and justice. Instead, you are a new generation capable of healing our social divides, building a fair and just social order, and it's imperative that you rise to this historical moment. I'll leave you with this simple personal plea. I have a beautiful little 4-month-old granddaughter, my first grandchild, who I think about all the time, and she's actually here today with her mother. Her name is Zoe, and little Zoe is a multi-ethnic, multiracial child. Not only is she beautiful, but she appears to be quite smart. Her parents are loving, and they are thoughtful. And I think about how little Zoe will experience the world. Will she be the object of bigotry and cruelty, or will she grow up to be strong and flourish and learn, like you, to bring out the best in herself and the best in others? What gives me hope that her life will be one marked by meaning and honor is what I've learned here at Wagner, that your generation is a generation of transformational leadership to honor the pledge in creating a world for liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Congratulations on your day.